two poor little girls made an innocent request to a millionaire who barely knew what it was to smile. "Uncle, can you fix our playground?" But what began as an act of kindness will reveal a secret that will turn his world upside down and change everyone's lives forever. While he decides to transform that abandoned park into a place full of life, fate brings him closer to the girl's mother. But what he's about to discover about their past will break his heart and perhaps heal it at the same time. He has no idea that those children he has learned to love, they are, in fact, the daughters that fate took from him years ago. But is there still time to start over?
The afternoon sun lazily fell over the humble neighborhood, painting the rusty swings and cracked slide of the small park in gold. Laura and Lucia, 8-year-old twins, transformed that forgotten place into a castle of adventures. Their laughter echoed among the trees, giving life to what seemed dead. Sophia, their mother, watched from afar with a tired smile and a loving gaze. That park, even in ruins, was her daughter's refuge, and in a way, hers too. While the girls played, Sophia reminisced about the time when that space was the heart of the neighborhood. There were parties, laughter, and entire families gathered. Now weeds had taken over, broken toys swayed in the wind, and the colors had faded. But for Laura and Lucia, imagination was enough. They saw princesses, kingdoms, and dragons where adults only saw abandonment. It was their purity that kept a flame of hope burning. Sophia worked as a seamstress and did everything she could to ensure her daughters lacked nothing. Although they lived with little, there was an abundance of love. Still, she feared for their future. She dreamed that one day they could play in a safe, beautiful place, full of joy, a park worthy of the childhood they deserved. That afternoon, the girls found an old tire and turned it into a swing. They shouted with joy, while Sophia laughed, even with a heavy heart. Their laughter is what kept her standing. The sound echoed like a reminder, even in hardship, there was beauty. Suddenly, a large shadow fell across the ground. Laura looked up and saw a well-dressed man observing the scene. He had a curious expression and a slight smile on his lips. The girls didn't know it, but that encounter would change everything. Do you believe that a simple encounter can change entire lives? Then subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss what will happen to these twins and the man that destiny placed in their path. This story will touch your heart and prove to you that love can blossom in the most unexpected places. Lucas was just passing by. His car had broken down nearby and he was waiting for the driver to fix the problem. To pass the time, he decided to walk, something he hadn't done in years. That's how he found the small park hidden among the old buildings. The sound of children's laughter caught his attention, and without realizing it, his steps led him to the twins. Laura was the first to speak. "Hey, do you want to play with us?" she asked, holding up an improvised rope. Lucas laughed, surprised. It had been so long since anyone had invited him to do something without any ulterior motive. "Me? Play?" he replied, disconcerted. Lucia insisted, innocently pulling his hand. He, without knowing why, accepted. The girls taught him to jump rope, to tell stories, and even to spin on an old tire. For a moment, Lucas forgot who he was, the millionaire surrounded by business and commitments. He laughed like a child, feeling something he hadn't experienced in a long time, lightness. Sophia watched from afar, surprised by the scene.
As the afternoon began to darken, Laura made a request. "Uncle, could you fix our playground? It's all broken, and Mom says it's dangerous to play here." The phrase, spoken with such purity, struck Lucas like a silent lightning bolt. He simply smiled, unsure what to say. At that moment, something stirred within him, a restlessness, a sense of purpose he had long forgotten. As he said goodbye to the girls, Lucas looked back and saw them waving, full of hope. And for the first time in years, he felt the urge to return. In the following days, Lucas couldn't get the twins' request out of his head. "Uncle, could you fix our playground?" echoed in his mind like a sweet, persistent melody. He tried to concentrate on his work, but nothing seemed to matter as much as the girls' smiles. There was something about them, a purity, a light, that reminded him of something he thought he had lost forever, the simplicity of happiness. He decided to return to the neighborhood, this time without telling anyone. Upon arriving, he found the same sad scene, but now he saw it with different eyes. Each broken swing, each rusty toy seemed like a silent cry for help. He sat on a bench and stayed there, watching the children playing among the wreckage. He felt a lump in his throat. Sophia arrived shortly after, coming from work. She recognized Lucas immediately and was surprised to see him there, alone, lost in thought. She approached him gently. "Did you come to visit the playground?" she asked, somewhat awkwardly. He smiled, a genuine smile, different from the ones he gave at meetings and events. "I think he needs someone to take care of him," he replied. Sophia chuckled softly, unaware of what he was truly thinking. She told him stories of how that park had once been the pride of the neighborhood. She spoke of parties, of children running around, and of how it had all been lost over time. Lucas listened attentively, touched by the passion and nostalgia in every word. That night, on his way home, he made a decision. He called his architectural team and ordered, "I want you to find the original blueprints for that park. We're going to restore it completely." When his assistant asked why, Lucas simply replied, "Because someone asked for it, and because it's the right thing to do."
In the following days, he immersed himself in the project as he hadn't done in a long time. He visited the site in secret, accompanied the workers, and even helped clean the land. The neighborhood began to notice the activity, but no one knew who was behind the renovation. The twins, fascinated by the mystery, came up with 1,000 theories. "I think it was the elves," said Lucia. "Or God," added Laura, clapping her hands. Sophia smiled, suspecting that Lucas had something to do with it, but preferred to remain silent.
Each hammer blow, each new coat of paint, seemed to restore not only the park, but something inside Lucas. He felt alive again, as if he were rediscovering parts of himself that success had buried. At the end of another workday, he stopped to watch the sunset over the new swings. The wind blew gently, and he felt, for the first time in years, that he was exactly where he should be. Sophia watched from afar as the construction took shape. The sound of the workers, the smell of fresh paint, the joy of the curious children. It all seemed like a dream come true. But amidst the happiness, something inside her stirred. There was something about Lucas, in his gaze and manner, that awakened memories she believed were buried. One afternoon, while taking juice to the workers, she saw Lucas laughing with the girls. The sound of his laughter made her stop. It was a familiar laugh, one she had heard many years ago, on a special night, before fate separated them. Her heart raced. Lucas also seemed to sense something strange. When Sophia approached, time seemed to slow down. She thanked him for his help with the park, and he replied simply, "It's not help. It's the least I can do." But as he spoke, his eyes watched her curiously, as if searching for hidden memories. That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She mentally replayed that distant night when she had met a kind man at a charity event. They had talked for hours, shared dreams, and, amidst laughter and emotion, a connection that seemed magical. The next day, he disappeared. Months later, she discovered she was pregnant. She tried to find him, but she didn't even know his last name, only his first name, Lucas. And now, years later, fate had placed before her a man with the same name, the same gaze, and the same generous heart. Sophia trembled at the possibility, but was afraid to believe it. Was it a coincidence, or was fate giving her a second chance? Meanwhile, Lucas walked home in silence, troubled. Something about Sophia's voice, the way she looked at him, seemed familiar. He tried to push the thought away, telling himself it was his imagination, but his heart insisted on telling him otherwise. The past, which had slumbered peacefully for years, was beginning to awaken, and with it, the secret that would change everything.
In the days that followed, Lucas couldn't get the park out of his thoughts. Every smile from the twins, every look of gratitude from Sophia seemed to rekindle something forgotten within him. For the first time in years, he felt that his time and money had a real purpose. It was no longer about charity or appearances. It was personal.
In his luxurious office, surrounded by glass and silence, Lucas looked at the projects on his desk and thought, maybe I'm fixing more than just a park. At each business meeting, the voices sounded distant. All he wanted was to return to the neighborhood, oversee the construction, hear the girls' laughter echoing among the new swings. One morning, he decided to formalize what was already in his heart. He would not only restore the park, but also the surrounding neighborhood. I want a children's library, a community space, and lights everywhere, he told the architects. When the engineer asked why, Lucas replied with a smile, because those children deserve more than promises. As the work progressed, Sophia began to notice his constant presence. With each visit, Lucas seemed more involved, more human. He was no longer the distant man who had arrived in an imported car. He was someone willing to get his hands dirty with paint, carry wood, and listen. The twins, enchanted, followed him everywhere. "Uncle Lucas, paint it pink," Lucia shouted. "No, blue," Laura replied, laughing. Lucas laughed along, pretending to argue, and the trio became inseparable. Sophia watched the scene with a heavy heart. There was too much tenderness to be just a coincidence. One afternoon, while everyone was working, a gust of wind blew some plant leaves away. Lucas and Sophia rushed to catch them, and for a moment, their hands touched. A quick but intense contact. The look they exchanged was enough to make time stand still. Lucas looked away, disconcerted. Sophia took a deep breath, trying to control her emotion. It was as if the past was about to reveal itself, but neither of them yet had the courage to face it. At the end of the day, Lucas was alone in the park. The sunset reflected on the newly painted playground equipment, and he felt a peace he hadn't known in years. Maybe this place doesn't just need renovation, maybe it needs forgiveness, he murmured to himself. And without realizing it, that was the first time he had associated the word "lar" to a place that wasn't his home. As the weeks went by, the park came alive, and along with it, the relationship between Lucas and Sophia grew stronger. His visits became routine, and the neighborhood began to get used to the rich young man who spent his afternoons talking to the children and helping with their chores. Sophia always greeted him with a shy smile, offering him coffee or a simple cake, gestures that meant more to Lucas than any banquet. He, in turn, told funny stories about work and listened attentively to each account of her and the girls' routine. The simplicity of that interaction healed him from within. The twins were delighted. To them, Lucas was a hero, someone who made their days more colorful and brought hope where before there was only rust. "When the park is finished, will we play with you, Uncle?" Laura asked. He replied tenderly, "Okay, and it will be the happiest day of my life."
One afternoon, Sophia invited him to dinner at her house. Lucas hesitated. It had been a long time since he dined at a table filled with laughter, but he accepted. The house was simple, smelled of cake, and felt cozy. The girls talked nonstop, and Sophia, between laughs, watched him with a mixture of affection and caution. During dinner, Lucas felt something that disarmed him. That small, vibrant space was the opposite of the coldness of his mansion. For the first time, he longed to belong in that home. Sophia noticed the sparkle in his eyes, and without understanding why, her heart beat faster. After the girls went to sleep, the two were alone on the balcony. The silence was comfortable until Sophia said, "You look like someone I've met before." He chuckled softly, but her gaze was serious. "Perhaps we've crossed paths before, at another time." The words hung in the air. Lucas felt a shiver. Something about that sentence struck him deeply. He tried to change the subject, but Sophia noticed his discomfort. Doubt began to grow within her. That night, as Lucas drove home, Sophia's face wouldn't leave his mind. There was something about her smile, something that reminded him of a night many years ago, a night he thought he had forgotten. Unbeknownst to them, they were both one step away from reuniting with the past. And what would come next would change everyone's destiny. The days that followed the dinner were filled with a new energy between Lucas and Sophia. The bond, previously only friendly, began to transform into something deeper, more intimate. The conversations became longer, the smiles more lingered, and even the silence between them had a different meaning. There was a silent yet powerful connection. One afternoon, Sophia invited Lucas to dinner again, this time to celebrate the final stages of the park's construction. He accepted without hesitation. He arrived early, helped the girls with their schoolwork, and was delighted by how intelligent and creative they were. "They seem like two smaller versions of their mother," he joked, making Sophia blush. Dinner was simple, but full of laughter. Lucas felt that, somehow, this home completed him. Sophia, however, struggled with a feeling of unease. There was something in his gaze that stirred memories of a past life, memories she tried to ignore, but which now knocked at the door of her soul. When the girls went to bed, Sophia served coffee on the veranda. The air was warm, and the distant sound of cicadas created an almost nostalgic atmosphere. Lucas looked at the starry sky and said softly, "You know, it's been a long time since I've felt this at peace." She watched him tenderly, but also with doubt. "Lucas," she began hesitantly, "have you been to this neighborhood before? I mean, many years ago?" He frowned, confused. "Not that I remember." "Why?" Sophia looked away, trying to hide her curiosity. "Nothing. Just curious." But deep down, her heart was pounding with despair. Lucas noticed her discomfort and changed the subject, asking about the girls, about school, about the simple life she led. Sophia answered, trying to smile, but each word was an attempt to hide the turmoil inside her. When he said goodbye, it took him longer than usual to let go of her hand. The touch was brief, but charged with something they both pretended not to understand. As she closed the door, Sophia leaned against it and took a deep breath. Discreet tears streamed down her face. "It can't be," she murmured. But deep down, she knew that the heart rarely lies. That night, she opened an old box stored in the closet, and inside, she found a photo. A photo that froze time. Her and Lucas, young, smiling at a charity event years ago. Sophia held the photo with trembling hands. The memory of that night came rushing back. It was a charity event, full of lights and soft music. She had volunteered, and he was a young businessman who had recently achieved success. They talked for hours, as if they had known each other in past lives. It was a night of pure connection, which ended in a kiss and a goodbye that she believed would be temporary. Shortly after, she discovered she was pregnant. she tried to find him, but only knew his first name, Lucas, and the name of the company he claimed to work for. When she finally went there, they said he had traveled abroad. Time passed, and Sophia decided to raise her daughters alone, without guilt, with love and courage. Now, looking at the photo, doubt turned into certainty. It was him. The same smile, the same look, even the same way of speaking. Life, with all its irony, had brought him back, not as a stranger, but as the girl's father.
Sophia spent the night awake, trying to decide what to do. Tell the truth? What if he rejected her? What if he thought she had deceived him? Fear paralyzed her, but her conscience weighed even more heavily. Lara and Lucia had the right to know. The next morning, when Lucas arrived to oversee the construction, Sophia greeted him with a racing heart. She tried to act naturally, but he sensed something was different. "Are you all right?" he asked, concerned. She forced a smile. "I'm fine, just a little tired." Throughout the day, the glances exchanged between the two were full of unspoken questions. Lucas felt a strange familiarity every time he looked at the girls. The way they laughed, the way they wrinkled their noses when they were confused. It was as if he were seeing himself reflected in them.
Late in the afternoon, Sophia tried to speak, but her voice failed her. "Lucas, I need to tell you something." He looked into her eyes, waiting. But before he could continue, Lara ran over shouting, "Uncle, look at the new swing!" And the moment was lost. As Sophia watched the girls playing, she realized how much he loved them, even without knowing who he really was. And this, paradoxically, comforted and hurt her at the same time. That night, she looked at the photo again and cried. Not from sadness, but from fear. Fear of losing the chance to fix the past. And on the other side of the city, Lucas stared at the ceiling of his room, feeling something inexplicable. A premonition that he was about to discover a truth that would change everything. The day dawned cloudy, and Sophia felt the weight of the secret in every breath. The park's construction was almost finished, and the twins' smiles reflected the dream coming true. But inside her, the joy was tinged with growing anguish. Every time Lucas looked at the girls tenderly, her heart tightened more. She knew she couldn't postpone it forever. The past wouldn't remain hidden for long. Fate seemed to have brought their paths together again, and denying this truth would mean betraying not only Lucas, but also her own daughters. Meanwhile, Lucas noticed the change in Sophia. She seemed distant, pensive. The conversations that had previously flowed easily were now accompanied by awkward silences. He tried not to question her, but something inside him told him that something was left unsaid. Something important. One afternoon, he found Sophia sitting alone on a park bench watching the girls play. "You've been acting strange lately," he commented, sitting down beside her. "Has something happened?" Sophia hesitated, staring at the ground. There's something I need to tell you, but I don't know how yet." Lucas frowned. "You can tell me anything. I promise I'll understand." His words were sincere, but Sophia's fear spoke louder. She swallowed hard, looked away, and simply replied, "Not now, but soon." In the following days, Lucas couldn't get the conversation out of his head. He began revisiting old memories, trying to understand why he felt such a strong connection with Sophia and the girls. In his mind, flashes of a distant party, a smile, a familiar scent began to emerge. He began asking subtle questions about her past, about the twins' father. Sophia answered carefully, trying not to reveal too much, but each word was a dangerous dance between truth and omission. One night, alone at home, Lucas picked up an old box of keepsakes. Among photos of events and cards, he found a faded picture from a charity event. His heart stopped for a second. There she was, Sophia, young, smiling, beside him. The world seemed to spin. He spent the night staring at that photo, trying to understand how fate had deceived him for so long. And then, doubt turned into certainty. Those girls didn't just look like him. They were his daughters. The following morning, he decided he needed answers. Lucas arrived in the neighborhood earlier than ever. His heart was racing, as if he were about to face something that could change everything. He found Sophia arranging the flowers near the park entrance and called to her. The tone of his voice let her know he knew. "Sophia, please, tell me the truth." Lucas's voice trembled between anger and emotion. "That night, years ago, it was real, wasn't it? And the girls—" She lowered her head, tears falling before she could even answer. "Yes, Lucas, they are your daughters." The silence that followed was heavy. Lucas took a step back, unsure of what to feel. He asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice choked with emotion. Sophia tried to explain. "I tried to find you, I swear. But you had disappeared. I didn't know where to look. Then I thought maybe it was better this way. I didn't want to tie you to something you didn't choose." Her words cut like knives. Lucas felt anger, not at Sophia, but at himself, for disappearing, for not searching, for wasting years of his daughters' lives. He turned away, unable to look at her. "I needed to know, Sophia. They are a part of me." She cried, begging him to understand. "I did what I thought was right. I was afraid. I just wanted to protect them." But Lucas, wounded, didn't answer. He just walked away, without looking back. The sound of his footsteps echoed like the end of something that never had a chance to begin. In the following days, the entire neighborhood felt her absence. The park's construction stopped for a while, and Sophia lived tormented by guilt. The girls asked about Uncle Lucas, and she, with a broken heart, said that he was busy. Lucas, in his apartment, looked at the photo of the twins on his cell phone screen. He felt a mixture of pride and pain. "They are mine, and I wasn't there," he whispered to himself. Each word was a blow to his conscience. After days of silence, he received a call from the engineer. "The park is ready, sir. All that's left is for you to decide the opening date." Lucas took a deep breath. "We'll do it on Sunday, and let everyone know I'll be there myself."
Across town, Sophia heard the children's excited chatter about the announcement, her heart filled with hope and fear at the same time. She didn't know if he was coming just for the event or to change the course of their lives once again. And so, as the new park prepared to open, Sophia wondered if love would be strong enough to rebuild what time had destroyed. The days following the revelation were gray, even with the sun shining brightly in the neighborhood. Lucas disappeared. No phone calls, no visits, no messages. The park was ready, but his silence echoed like an impossible absence to fill. Sophia felt her heart heavy, blaming herself for everything. The twins didn't understand the reason for their mother's sadness. "Where's Uncle Lucas, Mommy?" they asked innocently. Sophia smiled with effort. "He must be working, my loves." But the tears she swallowed betrayed the pain she was trying to hide. At night, the emptiness seemed even greater. The sound of the wind in the trees, which had once brought peace, now brought back memories. Sophia relived every moment with Lucas, the laughter, the glances, the tenderness, and wondered if she had lost, once again, the chance to be happy. Meanwhile, Lucas was facing his own chaos. He spent hours locked in his office staring at photos of his daughters on his phone. "My daughters," he murmured. Those words still sounded strange but true. He wanted to run to them, hug them, but pride and pain paralyzed him. The past weighed like lead. He blamed himself for disappearing back then, for letting life take him away from something so pure. Now life was giving him a second chance, and he had destroyed it with his own fear. Sophia, for her part, tried to follow the routine. She sewed, took care of the girls, but everything seemed mechanical. The colors had faded. The park, almost finished, had become a reminder of what it could have been, a symbol of love and hope, and now of loss. The neighbors were commenting. Did the rich young man give up? Did they have a fight? She just smiled sadly, without explaining. Deep down, she knew he needed time and, perhaps, courage. On a quiet night, Sophia took the girls to the park. It was empty, but beautiful. The lights were on, the wind swayed the new toys, and the distant sounds of the city composed a soft melody. She sat on a bench and cried softly, silently wishing Lucas would come back. The wind blew gently, like an invisible reply, and in that moment she felt it. Even from a distance, he was thinking of them too.
Lucas could no longer pretend he was okay. Each day away from the neighborhood, he felt emptier. The life of luxury, the commitments, the meetings, nothing made sense. The enormous apartment felt like a prison. He looked out the window and saw his reflection, a man surrounded by everything, but without the essential, love. One night, he walked alone through the city. He passed squares, families playing, children laughing. Each sound both wounded and healed him. He realized how far he had strayed from what truly mattered. Loneliness was no longer a choice, it was a punishment. He arrived at the renovated park without telling anyone. The place was deserted, lit only by the soft lights he himself had installed. He walked slowly among the new toys, touching the cold iron, remembering the twins smiling, and Sophia watching him with that lively look in her eyes. "I messed everything up again," he said softly. The wind answered with a whisper. He sat on the bench where he used to talk to Sophia, and for the first time in a long time, he cried. He cried for all the lost years, for all the unspoken words, for all the wasted love. As tears streamed down his face, he remembered what Sophia had said. "I didn't want to tie you to something you didn't choose." And that's when he understood. She never wanted to hide the truth out of selfishness, but out of love. She simply wanted to protect her daughters from a world that perhaps he, at that time, wasn't ready to offer them. That morning, Lucas made a silent decision. He didn't want to run away anymore. He didn't want fear to define him anymore. He would be a father. He would be present. He would be worthy of the love that destiny had given him a second time. In the following days, things began to change. He canceled trips, set aside frivolous commitments, and started planning something that went beyond renovating the park. He wanted to build something lasting, for Sophia, for the girls, for all the children in the neighborhood. Looking again at his reflection in the mirror, he saw a different man, still imperfect, still scarred, but finally human. And for the first time in a long time, he smiled, a light, genuine smile, the kind of smile that appears when the heart finds its way back. The opening Sunday dawned with a clear sky and a gentle breeze, as if even the weather knew that something important was about to happen. The park was decorated with colorful balloons and flowers planted by the neighborhood children themselves. Their laughter filled the air, but for Sophia, there was a silence in her heart. She tried to smile, but Lucas's absence was an open wound. Dressed in a simple blue dress, Sophia helped organize the event, while the twins ran across the lawn, enchanted by the new swing and the shiny slide. "Uncle Lucas is coming, right, Mommy?" Laura asked, hope in her eyes. Sophia hesitated, swallowed the lump in her throat, and replied, "I think so, my love." At 11 o'clock, the microphone hissed, and all eyes turned to the entrance. A murmur ran through the crowd when a familiar figure appeared. It was Lucas, walking with a bouquet of flowers in his hands and a serene look.
Sophia's heart raced. He had returned. Lucas climbed onto the small stage set up in the center of the park. The sound of conversations ceased. He took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice choked with emotion. "A while ago, I thought money could fix everything. But I discovered that there are things that only love can restore." His eyes filled with tears. "I came here not only to deliver a new park, I came to ask for forgiveness from an incredible woman who faced the world alone, and from two girls who are the reason I rediscovered what it truly means to live." Sophia couldn't hold back her tears. The twins, not quite understanding, pulled her by the hand. "Mommy, Uncle Lucas is crying!" Sophia smiled through her tears. "It's because his heart is happy, my loves." Lucas stepped down from the stage and walked toward them. The crowd fell silent. When he got close, he knelt before the girls and said in a trembling voice, "I know you haven't understood everything, but if you let me, I want to be the father you deserve." Lara looked at her mother, then at him, and asked softly, "So, are you our real father?" Lucas nodded, tears falling. They both hugged him at the same time, and he enveloped them in his arms, crying like never before. Sophia approached, her hands trembling, and he looked at her tenderly. "I didn't come back out of guilt, Sophia. I came back because I love you, because I love what we've built here, and because now I want to stay." And there, amidst laughter and tears, the past was finally redeemed. The new park was full of life. Children ran around, parents chatted, and the sound of joy echoed everywhere. In the center, a newly installed golden plaque gleamed in the sun. Parque Esperanza, built with love so that no childhood needs to be forgotten. Lucas gazed at the scene with a peaceful heart. Beside him, Sophia and the twins laughed, their faces illuminated by the late afternoon light. The world seemed to have found balance. He, who had previously lived trapped in his own solitude, was now surrounded by what mattered most: presence, affection, and truth. During the inauguration, Sophia gave a short speech, encouraged by her neighbors. "This park is not just a gift for our children. It's a symbol that love can flourish even where there seemed to be no more life. It's about believing that the past doesn't have to define the future."
Lucas held her hand tightly. The twins played close together, and their laughter seemed like a hymn of new beginnings. That sound, which had once troubled him with longing, now filled him with gratitude. Later, as evening approached, Lucas knelt before his daughters and said, "I promise I'll never disappear again. Now we have a home, and home is wherever you are." Lucia hugged him tightly, and Lara added, "And wherever there's a swing, too." Everyone laughed. Sophia watched him with the serene gaze of someone who had finally found peace. The wounds still ached, but they were healing, with love, patience, and truth. The park, once a symbol of abandonment, now represented their rebirth as a family. Before they left, Lucas turned on the park lights and admired the golden reflection on the leaves of the trees. "You know, Sophia, this place saved me." She smiled and replied, "It wasn't the park, Lucas. It was them. It was us." Night fell, and the children continued playing under the soft lights. The wind carried the sound of laughter and scattered it throughout the city, like a promise that love, when it is true, always finds its way back. Lucas looked up at the sky, embracing Sophia and their daughters, and murmured, "Sometimes life only needs an innocent request to change everything." And there, under the stars, not only was a new park born, but a new family. The sun rose softly over the neighborhood, painting the rooftops and the park, which now shone in vibrant colors with gold. The children's laughter mingled with the birdsong, and the aroma of fresh coffee wafted from the open windows. Sophia observed this scene from the balcony, a cup in her hands, and a serene smile on her lips. It was the first day of a new chapter, not just for her, but for everyone. Inside the house, the twins ran between the rooms, excited about the first day of a special project, the music lessons that Lucas had helped create at the new community center. "Come on, Mom, we're going to be late," Lara shouted, while Lucia tried to tie her shoelaces. Sophia laughed, her heart lighter than it had felt in a long time. Lucas appeared in the doorway, wearing a simple shirt and with a tender look in his eyes. "Ready, my little artists?" The girls jumped on him with joy, and Sophia, watching the scene, felt a sweet lump in her throat. That man, once distant and reserved, now radiated love. The kind of love that can't be bought, that is built day after day. On the way to the park, the city seemed different. Neighbors waved, people smiled more, and the place that once was forgotten now pulsed with life and hope. The project that Lucas had started had expanded. Volunteers helped, new toys arrived, and entire families came together to keep the flame of that dream alive.
Arriving at the park, the girls ran straight to the swing. Lucas and Sophia watched them from a distance. "Funny, isn't it?" he said. "It all started with a simple request." Sophia nodded, and it ended with something we didn't even know we needed. The wind blew gently, playing with her hair. Lucas looked at her for a moment, then gently took her hand. "You know, Sophia, when I looked in the mirror before, I saw a man who had everything, except peace. Now, that's all I need. You both." She squeezed his hand and replied with a smile, "And we only needed you." The twins called out, "Dad, come push us." He laughed, took off his jacket, and ran over to them. The sound of laughter filled the air, and Sophia watched the scene with tears in her eyes. It was a portrait of happiness, simple, sincere, complete. Later, at dusk, Lucas gathered everyone in the center of the park. "Today, I want to extend an invitation," he said. "I want this place to continue being a home for those who need joy and hope. Let's create a permanent project so that every child in this neighborhood has reasons to smile every day." Applause echoed, and Sophia, moved, hugged him with pride. The sun set slowly, tinging the sky with orange hues. The park lights came on, reflecting a sparkle in the eyes of children and adults alike. That place, once abandoned, was now the heart of the neighborhood, and a symbol that love is capable of rebuilding everything that time destroys. As night fell, Lucas, Sophia, Lara, and Lucia walked hand in hand down the quiet street. The future was still uncertain, as all life is, but there was something no one could take away from them, the certainty that they were together, and that, finally, they had found a home. And while the wind gently rocked the playground equipment, a new morning awaited on the horizon, promising that love, when true, is always reborn. Did you see how a simple gesture can transform the destiny of an entire family? If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel now and activate the bell, because here, each new story reminds you that true love always finds its way back. Share this video to spread hope.